Why are we?
It's all.
Glad you weren't lying to me. That's good.
No. Space will continuously be a waste of time. Confirmed. What's up, everybody? Little hot takes before the show that had nothing to do with golf. That's how you know it's going to be a good show here at Stokastic PGA DFS strategy show presented by Prize Picks. The regular season might be over, but that doesn't matter because the PGA season rolls on, and now we get playoff mode, FedEx St. Jude Championship. I am Ben Rasa. I am joined by my main man, Eric Lindquist, here to break down the 125-man field that is dwindling each and every day with a couple people dropping out. It's playoff time. We saw some drama last week that we'll get to, but how do you feel heading into the FedEx Cup?
I feel good. Last week ended up being slightly profitable, which is crazy because I think I ended up on like 7% Sung Jae. We talked about him. That was a fantastic call by you. Fantastic call by the field for sure, but massively overweight. Tom Kim, that could not have gone any better. He was my highest owned golfer. I wish I had gotten paid off more on it because I felt like there were a lot of pieces you still needed to find at the top of the boards. Showdown did not treat me very nicely, that's for sure, even though I felt like I was way over on Tom, even at his high ownership everywhere. Just kind of repeats that you still got to get the other pieces right. And, I think that's really what this playoff series has always come down to, is finding not always who's going to be just outwardly winning the tournament, but who are the guys who are going to put up lots of placement points on a water-filled golf course that we have this week.
Yeah, certainly, particularly in the last couple of weeks, that's been even more important because of the birdie fest nature. We won't have that to the same extent, but there's no doubt about it. And yeah, Tom Kim, he gained 12 strokes putting. He's a really good player. When you get really good players gaining strokes like that, you should be winning tournaments. So we're going to be seeing a lot of him in the future. I think there's no doubt. And I'll give credit to our chat. First time I ever heard his name was in this very chat on this very show. And that's why tuning in is an awesome time for all of us. And if you are tuning in, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel. We are growing every day. Want to keep that going. But let's talk a little about the Wyndham. I know we just got into it a bit. I don't have much else to say. I thought that the absurdity of the -1 cut was something that we rarely, if ever, see. Of course, HV3 had the 3-putt to fully coffin himself on Friday, but just seeing that drama, felt bad for Smotherman, but all in all, that is the beauty of the FedEx Cup playoffs.
Yeah, I felt bad for Lauer. You saw him 3-putt on 18 to fall to 127. Unfortunately, it brings Ricky Fowler back into your life for this week.
That's even worse.
I know. So, legitimately, you feel bad for him, and then you feel bad for yourself back to back. But
not in that order. I feel worse for me, but yeah, that's true.
Because, Ricky Fowler, his life is made, no matter what, off of sponsors. That changes Lauer's entire complexion of next year. Goes from being a guy with fully exempt status anytime there's 125 to now you have Korn Ferry as your primary tour. It is such an unbelievable thing to watch as people's lives are changing. And it's not just, for that Friday, it's for that Sunday that we saw as well. I think this week, everybody feels it's an emotional free roll, if you will. Like everybody knows where they're going to primarily be playing next season. That is a huge relief, a huge weight off your shoulders. I think it frees you up at the bottom of the board to take some shots, maybe more so than normal. The best players are the best players. We always talk about the incentives. It's hard to say, oh, well, he's going to try harder this week. That's not the case, but I do think that it brings a free roll nature for some of those guys at the bottom end who are just, hey, if I can jump in the top 80 or top 70, yeah, sounds great. I'm going to try to do it.
We're about to dive in, of course, but I do have just a general question for you in chat. Feel free to chime in too about this. I was wondering about this. So say a guy like Justin Lower, 127th, right? So he misses by 2. What happens if 2 people go to live? Does he get in now, or is it just like 123 people have status?
Well, here's the thing. There's 2 major things at play from what I've read, and I went on a deep dive 2 days ago because everybody knows how much I hate live, and this lawsuit was just absurd. But if you haven't teed up yet, so Bubba Watson is technically in the 125. And because of that, Lauer ended up 127, but somebody ended up at 126. And they were talking about how absurd it is just because Bubba Watson hasn't officially teed it up in a live event yet, even though he's said that he's playing there, even though live introduced him, it still counts Bubba Watson in that 125 So it's a huge bummer to everybody, especially that back tier, because if Bubba Watson hits one golf shot at Live, that number jumps up one. You get your entire life changed compared to what you were going to have. And then for the top 125, they've always done it where, because there's 3 players that aren't playing this week. We have 122. You have guys that were technically in the 150 that are either injured. We saw a withdrawal. We saw a couple of other things, but you basically don't get to just move that inside because it's based off qualification points. They don't want to give somebody a card as a result of it. They don't want to give somebody extra status because of it. It's just a huge bummer. It's a lot of nuances on the back end of it, but the way I look at it is it's like being the 12th player on the end of an NBA bench. Like, can you really be upset if you got cut at that point? Like, the top players are still going to jump into that top 100 every single year, time in, time out. And it kind of gets cyclical on the back end.
It's going to be very interesting, of course. That's something that we'll monitor in the future of things. I don't know exactly how I feel, and I honestly don't really understand all of it, but we'll see as the field dwindles and as more guys go to Live. But let's turn the page and start talking this week. And let's start with Prize Picks because they are powering the show. They've been doing it all year. Daily prop-based concepts over there. A lot of money to be made, not just with the promo code, but let's start there. We'll match your first deposit up to $100 with the promo code AWESOMO. Go over there and sign up. Use the link in the description or just go to prizepicks.com, download the app. And you're talking about going over or under certain categories, whether it's birdies or better, fairways gain, things like that. I really like some of the things you can attack over there. We've had a lot of success. You've spearheaded that. We get all the big names. Do you like when we have, the elites to choose from, or do you like it more where it's, a Jason Duffner versus Dirt McGirt?
Like a Ricky Fowler versus Kramer Hickok that you get in birdies or better.
The elites, like I said.
It's beautiful. JT Poston going up against Sebastian Munoz, birdies or better matchup. Give me all the JT Poston and all the land on Bermuda here. Sebastian Munoz, I think he sent a lot of people to the depths missing the cut last week. That's kind of a bummer. So there you go. But that seems to be one that sticks out quite a bit for me. And then Sahith Theegala going up against Mito Pereira. Mito Pereira, there are some putting woes, and we saw them he overcame them on the Korn Ferry Tour. Obviously, he made the run at the PGA, but I feel pretty confident in saying that Theegala, if you just look at terms of DK scoring, it's a one-round event, and anything can kind of happen. But I think based off of what we've seen over the last month and a half, 2 months, Theegala over Mito Pereira feels like one of the easier plays on the board for me.
It's going to be very, very interesting, and certainly we will have some Prize Picks content out breaking this all down on the OddsChecker YouTube, which again, I think you guys know this. If you want betting takes, go to OddsChecker YouTube. That is where you want to be. You'll see both of us plenty, but it's time to talk about the FedEx St. Jude Championship. The interesting thing about this tournament, so we've seen it, just not in this iteration. We've seen TPC South win. We've seen the elites take on the course. We've seen a non-cut, though. We saw the WGC here a lot, and now it's not that. Do you take anything away from that, or you just kind of say, like, okay, we've seen this course year after year, and the course isn't going to be any different just because the format is different?
Yeah, I take away that I wish Live had happened last year because I would have won all the money, and Abraham Answer wouldn't have been in Sam Burns' way. That's for sure. So I take that away from it. But otherwise, this is just a fun golf course to be watching. We've seen it, as you said, for a long time, TPC Southwind, and there are some birdie opportunities. I think the finishing stretch of this golf course is just awesome. You get 16, very birdieable par 5. You can make some eagles out there too. 17, 18 coming down the stretch that we saw in the playoff last year. I just think it's a phenomenal golf course, and it comes down to a lot of iron play here again. I definitely want to be looking at Bermuda splits again here, but I just think it's awesome to have the top end of the field here at this golf course. That's really the other part of it, is like, with everything going on with Live on the other side, how can you not love looking at just a fully stacked field here at this golf course?
It's great. We get everyone in. It's a challenge. It's a different test. So this is one thing where this part of the season, recent form gets a little tricky, because some guys' recent form is the US Open, the Open Championship, the Travelers, and then other guys' recent form is the Barbasol, Wyndham, the 3M, the Rocket Mortgage, and those guys most likely or are towards the back of the pack in terms of where they stand in the top 125. The elites haven't been playing. So I think it's a really interesting dynamic when you get to a course like this, because I think it's going to play pretty tough, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough, but it's also going to be a spot where, I mean, because of the quality of the field that we have here too, you have to still take into consideration some type of DK scoring. Like there's so many guys, Rory, Scheffler, Schauffele, Cam Smith, just going down the line from these 10K guys, they can all just light up any golf course on any given week. And, you know, there's also going to be some doubles made along the way. That's the nature of having water on however 18 of 18. It's not that, but it seems like it's around every single bend on this track. There's trouble to be had. There's going to be some DK scoring that comes into it too. Of course, you're going to need to find yourself the winner. You're going to need to find yourself some guys who just kind of get there in terms of top fives, but there's going to be like a John Rahm or a Justin Thomas or somebody who just make such a boatload of birdies, but have the others that come along for the ride. I think that's what really kind of makes this unique, is just having such a strong field that stuff is going to happen.
Yeah, there's no doubt that this course is one of those where if you make mistakes, you're going to make big mistakes. And it's not one where you're going to see, to me, like guys just like bogeying the course to death. It'll be blow up holes around a lot of scoring opportunities. And again, in a WGC, you can't get cut. So when guys don't have it, they can make a real mess. Here, that's not the case. But as we said, the field is loaded, and let's dive into it. We've got Rory, we've got Scheffler, we've got Xander, Cam Smith, Cantlay, JT, Rahm. That's a major level top of the board. It's no different than what we would see at most majors. Rory back on top, probably where he belongs, doing everything except winning, really. He did win in Canada, but how do you look at it when we have so many elite options?
Yeah, I love the way that they did the pricing. This is the first time that we've seen what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys in the 10K range, and putting Rory up top. I just talked about all the scoring and everything. I mean, doesn't Rory just feel like the guy who's immune to wherever he plays golf? It could play tough, it could play easy, it could play in any kind of nature. And you feel like Rory's going to find himself in contention. He's played awesome. And as you said, recent form for him, the Open, we just saw him, play as well as you could possibly play. Got beat by a Cam Smith putter. Really no question about it. And Scottie Scheffler kind of sitting there next on the board. He's had the best overall season, I think, by anybody in this field. His best result second now at the U.S. Open over the course of the last 2 months. Xander Schauffele was like unbelievably high owned. And now we're looking at him at 10-6, not really getting a lot of ownership. And I think that's kind of where I find it to be pretty interesting. Like Xander is somebody that I feel like we never get the opportunity to roster in like a 10-15% type range. I think at 10-6, as much as I love Rory at 11K and as amazing as Scottie Scheffler has been all season, this might be the first time that I prioritize Xander Schauffele in a build all year long. He was the mega chalk at the Open. It was hard to get there for me. This is a completely different situation here, but I find myself gravitating towards Xander. I'm not sure where you're going. I feel like you're just a Rory stan through and through, but do you have interest in Xander this week?
I mean, you already hit the point that I want to make. I have interest in Xander. People think that I hate Xander, which isn't true. It's that people just love him a lot more than I do on a lot of weeks when Xander's 35% owned and I come in and I have, if I play 10 lineups and I have him on 2, well, I'm going under the field or something. Like it's a little different, or a 3 max. He's always very popular. It doesn't seem like it seems like Rory's going to be really popular. It's very early, and we'll check the tools at Stokastic as the week goes on. But I'm fine with Xander. I think he would be my second preferred option. I think Rory's by far the safest option and the best option, but you're going to be able to get 2. Cantlay's playing great golf too, everything but winning. I have to ask you though, I'm not saying he's out of place. I'm not saying he's underpriced. But Jon Rahm being the 7th most expensive golfer is something we haven't seen for a very long time. And his form has mirrored why that is. He hasn't been great lately. Is it a buy low spot here? The guy's made a double or worse in 5 straight events. Of a golfer this good, he's got to clean that up. Do you wait and see, or do you buy low?
Yeah, so I have a sheet. Hang on one second. So Rory McIlroy, 6 top 10s in his last 8 events. Yes, if you take the Mexico Championship off of his board, do you know the last time Jon Rahm had a top 10?
I don't, but it's been quite a while.
The Farmers, January, That's wild when you think about Jon Rahm. Legitimately, he won the Mexico Championship, and if anybody remembers that field, like Cameron Champ was involved in the mix. Like, come on, stop it. That was not even a real field, but legitimately doesn't have anything inside of the top 10. He had a 10th at Memorial, but he has not finished inside the top 10 since the Farmers. That is just wild when you think about Jon Rahm. I'm not sure if I can really land there over the likes of, like, I just think Cantley profiles pretty well here. He's a little bit more popular at 10-3. Justin Thomas, I feel just from a scoring perspective, I always get to some JT on a given week, and I don't want to be going so thin. It's really weird to me, and maybe if we wake up and Jon Rahm ends up being like 6-8%, which I doubt, I think people can see that him as the 7th most expensive golfer, like that is pretty wild the way that you just said that. But I do kind of prefer the form and scoring abilities of other guys around him a little bit more. So yeah, he's kind of a forgotten guy in my builds.
Yeah, he's not gonna be forgotten for me. I bet him at 20 to 1. I like that number. There's no doubt. With these guys, I feel like yes, it hasn't been up to Rahm's standards, but when I looked at the numbers, he's still automatic off the tee. His around the green game has been bad. There's no doubt about that, but everything else has been fine. He's going to have to fix the putter at times. It's been hit or miss. Where he's had success, obviously, he's gained strokes putting. Where he had a really bad stretch, unfortunately, was in Florida. That does concern me a little bit because it's something that I've talked about a little more recently. Jon Rahm, when you really think about it, he doesn't play a lot of golf in Florida at all. And that worries me just a little bit more with the Bermuda side of things. Like he's not a regular at API, at Valspar, at the Honda. We haven't seen that. And when he's played at the Players, it hasn't been great, particularly on the greens. So I worry a little about that. I still like him. He balance builds, second man in, sign me up. Last guy, we haven't mentioned him. He's going to be live bound at some point, but he's not live bound today.
Oh no.
Are you going to play Cam Smith?
Kind of have to, don't you? You have to get to a little bit. This is just, I mean, we're talking Bermuda. If you just group by Bermuda greens, I mean, the guy, if you group by anything, Cam Smith's going to look pretty good over the course of this season.
True.
But second in strokes gained putting on Bermuda surfaces over his last 25, 50, and 100 round sample sizes. I mean, it's just kind of proven that it's not such an outlier from time to time. I do think that there's a guy cheaper below 10K that I want to get to a lot more. And I think that they actually make kind of a nice pairing together because, I mean, his improved driving stuff, whatever. Cam Smith, you can't tell me that what we've seen, he can go out and just win golf tournaments with the flat stick. And just with some of his numbers with Bermuda, it's really hard to overlook him as an option this week.
I mean, if you told me you wanted to go to Cam Smith, I wouldn't push back, but you can't get overweight on all of these guys, and something has to give. Cam Smith will probably be left behind for me. Just prefer the guys right next to him in Patrick Cantlay. I get Xander, Rory, Rahm, even they're all such good golfers. Ownership in the tools, the leverage tool in particular, will play a big role, but I don't anticipate having a ton of Cam Smith. You alluded that maybe some of the guys in the next range you like even more, whether that's Fitzy, Finau, who's on fire, Wilsey, Cam Young, Spieth, and Hovland, who's kind of been forgotten, popped up at the Open. How do you go about this? Again, this is a major level field. These are all elite players.
Yeah, it's Matthew Fitzpatrick for me. What we've seen from his driving capabilities over the course of the last 6 months, he's a different golfer because he already did everything else well. He was always good around the green. He was always a guy who could spike massive weeks with the putter. The only time that we've seen any kind of a blemish was at Memorial. He lost 7.6 strokes gained putting. I think that's just such a blip on the radar for him. It's not even funny. And now you get to Bermuda here again. It's just one of those things where I look at like the Sam Burns, the kind of grouping. Matthew Fitzpatrick, 5th in strokes gained putting over his last 50 rounds in this field, amongst the best players in the world, putting on Bermuda surfaces. So like Matthew Fitzpatrick, with his driving ability, he's gained 15 yards off the tee. He already was accurate. Now you bring that along for the ride. His last 6 tournaments with strokes gained data, he's been more than a stroke off the tee positive. So like, if he's going to continue to do that, he's been positive with the irons in every single tournament in 2022, which is unbelievable to say out loud. I don't know how you just don't click on a ton of Matt Fitzpatrick this week. That's going to be one of my big stands, more so than anybody else. I think Matthew Fitzpatrick more than likely ends up my highest owned golfer this week.
When you anticipate your lineups, do you think that Matthew Fitzpatrick is going to be the first man in? Apparently, the whole family is on Matthew Fitzpatrick.
Duke wanted to let you know he knows.
He approves.
Yeah.
He approves. Do you think more often than not you're going balanced and Fitzy's your first man in, or do you see him and Xander combos, him and Rory combos, him and JT combos?
Yeah, I think you're naturally going to get to a couple of those combos. We don't know about the weather here yet. I might land on some of these tee time stacks. I mean, the first one that caught my eye, just in try to get super different, was Rory and Xander. Might try to go some of those paths. But for these morning times, you get JT Fitzy, you get Cameron Smith and Fitzy. I think that Cam Smith Fitzy is something that I might do quite a bit. That looks like the route I'll go for my single entry, unless weather dictates I do something else differently. But I just think regardless of the draw, regardless of anything else, Matthew Fitzpatrick, with this ability that he's found to be able to just hit it further, he is as well-rounded as of a golfer as you're going to find. He's got the current form. He's got the capability to spike massive weeks with the putter. I mean, all of these guys have that kind of capability here at the top end, but I'm only paying $9,800 for him. So I could see myself landing on quite a few where he's the first guy in, but more than likely, Cam Smith Fitzy is going to be the path that I take as of right now.
Yeah, I'm with you in the, I'd like to get someone above him. It won't be Cam Smith, but I like that the way that build looks. It's going, if you go that route, most likely create a dead range from Finau down to Hovland. Are you okay with that? Is this a range that you say, you know what, again, it goes without saying these are elite players, but I'm not immediately drawn to the young guns and Wilsey and Cam Young. I worry about Hovland's chipping, things like that.
Yeah, well, Hovland chipping on Bermuda grass too. Like, that's a kind of a, if anybody remembers the Tiger chip yet kind of situation, I mean, that just comes from incapability to find the bottom end of the bounce with the club and truly find that to be like a repeatable motion. And it gets accentuated on Bermuda grass. It is by far, just from a playing golf perspective, if you ask just about anybody else, what is the hardest surface to go out and chip on? You're going to pick Bermuda grass because you have to worry about grain. You have to worry about the way that it's coming in certain situations where if it's going against you, you have to kind of get the ball first. And if you don't, you are hitting the ball a foot. Like you are just going to stub it. And it feels like just a spot for me to get off of Victor Hovland immediately. Can he go out and hit 16, 17 greens and find ways to be successful that way? Sure. But I think that there's going to be enough guys who can hit 14 and still make more putts than him. I'm probably going to be off on him. Jordan Spieth, I'm never really there. The tough fade for me in this range is going to be Will Zalatoris. We've seen him play so well. He puts himself in contention. I mean, a second at the U.S. Open, fifth Memorial, second PGA, sixth the Masters. These are just big-time tournaments. Doesn't seem like he gets up for the Wyndham or the Rocket Mortgage or anything else. But come playoff time, I feel like this is more than your average PGA golf tournament. Like these playoff series matter a little bit more. I can't have room for everybody, but I feel like he just kind of falls by the wayside. I'm not sure what to do with him yet. I'm curious where you're going to be landing on him.
Yeah, I mean, Wilsey's not been a struggle in the sense that he's crushed me, but I just haven't really gotten him in a lot of situations. I'm a lot closer this week. I don't like the price, but if the ownership dictates medium to low ownership, I'll probably be there. He's just a guy that, he's done everything but win, and the ball striking numbers have been good. He actually lost strokes off the tee at Wyndham, which is the outlier of all outliers. Everything else looks pretty good. Hovland, I get it. I mean, I think that he's to me a better bet, because if you think that he can just overcome that, just up the variance and bet him, because looking at his strokes gained on Bermuda surfaces around the green, it's a disaster. He's played this event twice, lost around the green in both. When he plays API, he struggles. The players, all of these type of scenarios really paint a tough picture. He can mask it because he's so good at times with his irons and with his off the tee game. But you're just putting a lot of pressure on it. So for this range, I think Will Z's my favorite and Spieth would be second, but that's more by default. And that is why I'm so keen to double up with two from Fitzpatrick to the top.
All right. That. So you're Fitzy with me at least.
Wow. Yes, I like Fitzy with you. You were what in a robot voice there.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. I guess I'm coming down from space, your favorite place, I believe.
Space, yes. Good times with space. I'm going to take all my winnings and donate it to NASA. Why not? Colin Morikawa.
So
there was a time when Colin Morikawa would be in the tens, possibly the highest priced golfer. And now he's 8,700. He feels forgotten, and his resume stacks up immaculate. You mentioned the struggles of Jon Rahm. Colin Morikawa has been struggling a lot too. But again, this is where I want to reference recent form. He's been struggling in the Open, in the Scottish Open, in the Memorial, and he played well at the U.S. Open. He's not playing in the, Barracuda, the Barbasol, these made-up events. Do you worry about where he's at, or is this a buy low at 87?
Nah, I can't do it. Okay. Putter is a real problem right now.
Yes,
we're looking at the last 6 tournament strokes gain data. He just hasn't really been competent in that regard. And the U.S. Open and the Masters, we don't have any strokes gain data. Obviously, you get some more familiarity with the Masters as you play it year in, year out. He just is kind of competent. I'm pretty sure if we were to go look at that, it's an iron golf course. It's a second shot golf course. The tee boxes, just teeing off out there, pretty forgiving, pretty large fairways compared to what people would think. It is definitely a second shot golf course, so it's no surprise he played well at the Masters. U.S. Open, it doesn't surprise me that on a golf course where, you saw Fitzy play well, he also played well here, but the putter is just broken. And on a golf course, you said it's going to play a little bit more difficult, but I still think that there's somebody who's going to put up 15 under out there. And I can't really see him being a guy that, unless he gets really hot with that club, can really get there, because there are some small blemishes from time to time. It's never with the irons, but it can be around the green. It can be off the tee sometimes. Feels like he's just a guy that I'm not going to get to whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, again, as we work down, the nice thing, of course, is that he's not going to be leading your teams. You're not going to start with Morikawa. And I get it. You got your boy Sam Burns right below him, Sanjay Decky, Lowry, Billy Ho, Neiman, and Tom Kim. It's kind of an interesting range when you really break it down. You've got some guys who probably are banking on recent form to get them there, and then guys in the buy low spot like Morikawa. I think I'm more drawn to the middle of the range with Sanjay and Lowry and Decky, but it's not my favorite range on the board.
It's mine. Burns and Hideki. Yo, how you doing? Hideki Matsuyama, part of the beauty of him is that he just spikes winning weeks. Top 5s, Zozo winner, Sony Open winner, AT&T Byron Nelson third, which that field was a lot better than people would normally see for the AT&T Byron Nelson year in, year out. And then fourth at the U.S. Open. As you said, the Open and Scottish Open, you take those off the board and the year looks a little bit different. That's not the kind of golf course you're going to be faced with this week. Comes off of last year, a second in this event, lost in that playoff. It was Sam Burns, him, and Abraham Answer, who I just hate so much. Cost me so much money. That's all I can remember with this golf tournament, but I'm absolutely in on Sam Burns going this direction. He's going to be really, really highly owned. I don't know why his price is 8,600 for a guy who's a 4-time winner this season. That makes no damn sense to me. But I don't know. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Burns, I'm okay with it. Bermuda splits, if it's calm, if it doesn't look bad. I didn't like the stretch of golf for him recently, and I was paid off on that, from the Travelers to Genesis to the Open.
Thanks for reminding me. Thanks.
Hey, I've been burned by Sam Burns more than most. He's an elite putter. Like, when he has success, he's gaining 5, 6, 7 strokes. And obviously we know he can get dialed in with the irons. I think the price is fair. I definitely prefer Decky, Lowry, and Sanjay over him. Shane Lowry in particular, though, is an interesting, Wyndham, it was just a mess. Lost 7.5 strokes putting. I don't know where we go from here, to be honest, but I have a feeling that if the ownership dictates it, he could be in a nice little spot in a major level field like this.
Yeah, 8,300. I mean, we've been paying more than that at times for Shane Lowry this season, and I think he really does stand out kind of in this range. You write off the Wyndham, whatever, didn't play very well there. He didn't have his clubs for 3 days. He didn't have it till Wednesday. Did that affect him? I don't really know, but I just know when you talk about the level, like being able to just destroy the range or being able to like compete with some of these 10K guys, I want to be very particular. And that's where, I think Sam Burns for me, where I know he can come out at this range and still find a way to win because he's proven to be able to do that before. Sung J Im, I'm actually in on this week. I don't know why my brain didn't allow for me to go that direction. The 3M didn't feel like a very good comp coming into the Wyndham. Well, T2 looks pretty good to me in that regard. And Shea Lowry just kind of comes along for the ride. This 8K range, I mean, if I am going to be starting a lot of builds here, I'm going to be getting two of those guys alongside some Matthew Fitzpatrick, and it shouldn't be too difficult to pull off.
No, it's definitely going to be doable in terms of lineup construction. And then it's just a matter of what happens with the remaining three. Billy Ho, Joaquin Neiman, who we haven't heard much from, and then, of course, last week's winner in Kim. Billy Ho is going to do what he does. He gains on Bermuda. He loves all these events. I don't think he's a particularly good player in relation to the rest of the range, but at the same time, I get some merit in a GPP portfolio because the guy on Bermuda greens is very, very dangerous.
Yeah, and he's gone out and won against difficult fields here. The first at the Memorial, second at the Arnold Palmer. So, I mean, there is some Bermuda situation there as well. Preferred surface, college surface, 15 years or whatever. He lives in Florida. I mean, it makes complete sense that Pilio is a guy you could get to, but do I want to play him over Shane Lowry? No. Do I want to play him over Hideki? No. Sung J M? No. Sam Burns? No. So it's kind of a victim of the range. It's kind of the same way I feel about Will Zalatoris, where it's like, well, I want to play Fitzy. I want to just play all the Fitzy and all the land, and I don't really have any allocation to the rest of the 9K range. And then for this one, it's like, I want to play everybody else in the 8K range besides him. So it would make sense on other weeks. I can't really do it here, though.
Neiman is the one that I'm struggling with the most, just because he's been in this kind of limbo range of he's not, he's not playing awful, but at the same time, he has not really progressing either. He made the cut in all the majors, but he didn't have anything in the top 20. He's gaining moderately with the irons. The around the green game has improved. The off the tee game is always strong. I'm just not sure where the game is at. I'm okay with it if I land there, but I'll be honest. I'll try to find $200, $300, $400 so I can go to the mid-range eights before I click either him or Billy Ho.
What's weird is maybe I just had like a natural bias where it was like, oh, I want to play Joaquin in scoring shootouts. I don't think that's really the case anymore. Like a sixth at the Farmers, first at the Genesis, third at the Memorial. I mean, these are just difficult golf courses that he plays a little bit better. I don't know. I feel like more so this falls in that middle range where I could see it going lower than you do. You could see it playing difficult. I think it really just comes down to if there's wind or not, because there's going to be guys who put it in play off the tee and they're just going to have scoring clubs in their hands all day. Joaquin Neiman, I feel like the irons are so sporadic at times. I mean, we've seen him gain 7 at times. We've seen him be negative in 3 of his last 7 events. Well, actually, no, 4 of his last 7 events with the irons. The around the green game feels like it's been lacking of late. The putter is back and forth. He's just a tough guy to get a gauge on. For me, he becomes like an ownership guy where if he's going to be 15%, I just have to say no, thank you. If we see that drop and go towards somebody else in the middle of that range and he falls around like 8-10%, maybe that's kind of an easy play to get over the field on. But as it stands right now, I think he's just kind of eliminated out of my pool too.
Fair enough. The last guy, we got to talk about him.
Oh, yeah.
Would be Tom Kim. Chat, I mean, you guys know Tokyo Swan leading that charge. This has been a name that's been thrown out there as possibly someone that we're going to look back on and say, can you believe that he was 7K in any field? Can you believe that he was flat 8 in this field as he ascends towards the top? Or he could be a guy that we just forget about. I have no idea. He gained 12.5 strokes putting last week. He's been doing very impressive work. Everywhere he's gone, basically, he's answered the call. Does that continue, or do you say the wind maybe was the one and let's cash in our chips here?
Yeah, looking at my allocations from last week, I actually had GT Poston 1. Tom Kim was my second highest owned golfer last week. That was beautiful. I had almost 50% of him across the board in tournaments. I'm going to have 0% this week. We have a drastically different field. We have drastically different circumstances that he's playing golf. Maybe this is something where he emotionally free rolls it, but he's a young 20-year-old who just putted the lights out of it on perfect greens. And these greens should be damn near perfect too. I mean, everywhere these guys go play on tour is incredible, but the caliber of field alone, just by default, there's no way that I'm going to play a 30% owned 20-year-old golfer who has three top tens now. Genesis Scottish, Rocket Mortgage, Wyndham. He's been awesome, and he can gain in terms of the approach, which is something that I'm always very keyed in on for these kind of events, where if you can get it and play off the tee, but there's a lot of water lurking around the corners, and it only takes one or two bad tee balls, which we saw a number of times last week. He only gained 1.1 off the tee, but there were a number of wayward shots he kind of got away with, especially on Friday, especially as he got it going again on the restart on Saturday. I just can't play him. I'm going to have 0% of him. I will let 30% of the field play him, and I'll just play to 70% of the entire week. And I'm okay with that this week. Last week, I thought that compared to the rest of the field, he was an exceptional play. Opposite this week.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to play him if he's that popular. That's not even.
Sorry, I just went on a complete run as if you were going to maybe be like, I could see it. Nope, you're with me. 0%.
There's nothing to say. He could be that good. When you gain 12 and a half strokes putting and you come to a course that I don't think anyone should be that popular because there's water and that ups the This is like playing in Florida.
Exactly.
If you're in Florida, it doesn't matter how good you are. Even if this guy is generationally good, I don't think you should play him. You want to play him in cash. You want to do some things with him. You want to take not stone zero and be a little more nuanced. All very, very reasonable. It's not a talent issue. It's a game theory issue.
Correct.
And I just don't really think that we can confidently say that he's so much better than Joaquin Neiman and Max Homa and Russell Henley and Ty Hatton. And you're getting certainly an ownership discount. And in some ways, you're getting like one
talent disparity.
1/3.
Yeah, they have more experience. They played this golf course before too. Like, there are a lot of reasons that we should be looking at the rest of this range. And it's not just game theory. It has everything to do with experience. It has everything to do with proven winners time in, time out. I'm just never going to play a guy who's 30% where there are this many unknowns still. And I love him. He was awesome to watch play. I got a small buy-in. Shout out Jason Roslin. I'll still give my guy a shout out here. He put me on Tom Kim at the Genesis, and then it became just a snowball effect where he seemed to be under-owned compared to what he should have been in certain fields. But now is when the table turns, and you have to be able to turn off anything that you've seen from him of late and not be biased towards it. Because again, what would he have to do? Like, what would he have to do for you to feel like you lost this week? I feel like he would have to top 10 for me to feel like I lost.
If he's 30% owned and he wins, obviously you're completely done, but I wouldn't feel like I lost. If I click in on Thursday morning and he's 30% owned, he's 35% owned in single entries, I don't care what happens. I will confidently take that one to my grave. Now, in reality, what are we looking for like a break even? Yeah, I think that's about right. There's the opportunity cost of what are the guys around him. But if he gives you a top 10, something like that, you're going to feel pretty good if you roster him. And I think that's what you're going to do. But you have to separate some of that and know, I mean, if at some point the ownership has to come into play. And to me, I wish he was cheaper. Obviously, I know that's not a reality. I wish he was like in the mid 7s and we could
40% owned.
Good. I wish he was in the 6s.
Me too.
Put him at the flat min. What do I care? Because it's a full leverage play, and if he plays well,
hey, full min is a disaster. Don't go that far.
That would be great. I wish he was the
what?
full min. Why not?
I do not have a 50% Tom Kim discussion, and I mean there are paths for him to finish like top 30, top 40, and be optimal. Oh, dude, now you're getting carried away. Now I have to come back to the defense of my boy because I love this guy, but this is just absurd ownership. And at 8K, I'm just not going to do it.
No. If you're going to do it, you might as well fully leverage. Why not? Put him at the min. And just for reference, the books, and that is obviously where I feel strongest. And you could shop the number, but I just pulled up BetMGM. Top 20 for Tom Kim this week, plus 150. So he is a dog to come in the top 20 according to the books.
Unreal.
That's all that really needs to be
He's
said.
The worst play on the slate this week. Sorry, Tokyo Swan.
Obviously.
Look, and here's I've seen Infinity Golf in real life. Oh, you've seen Infinity Golf in real life? Come talk to me about that. Let me know how much golf you've seen in real life compared to me and getting to play against Cantley and Schauffele and getting my ass beat by these dudes. Like,
I haven't seen anything.
Okay, I know, but you live like a hermit, so.
I've seen some shit. Yeah, I've seen a guy quad and then win a tournament. That happens to be the same guy we're talking about, but
I love
you know what? tomato, tomato. Let's talk about the rest of the range. We're dipping into the sevens. Hatton, Henley, Homa, Davis Riley, Aaron Wise, Seamus Power, Taylor Pendrith, Corey Connors. I'm not going to bring it back to Tom Kim, but this is a loaded range. I love this range. I anticipate having 2 or 3 of these guys in some teams.
What a Hatton call by you last week. That worked out really nicely for me.
Nice.
He was not on my board at all. You talked me into it. And, for him, it just seems like he went over to England and just kind of hit the reset button. And that can be a positive. We saw 5.3 strokes gained approach. He was positive across the board, though. And I think that goes a little underlooked. Like, when you talk about somebody like Tyrrell Hatton, who is so emotional, and now you get him on his preferred Bermuda here at the Wyndham, we've seen him play well at the Arnold Palmer every single time he plays that event. I just like getting to him on these Bermuda kind of greens where, he was just positive. I feel like 0.3 strokes gained putting was like the floor for him, and he still finished with the top 10. So like, he's the automatic buy for me of this range. Pretty easy to land there. Russell Henley is an automatic buy because he's an iron god. Aaron Wise, like, this is just another range that, again, if I'm not going to play Tom Kim, it gives me the liberty to play every single one of these guys. Homa every time, Henley, Hatton. I think this is just a fire it all up range.
I like it too. I'm going to stick with Ty Hatton. Again, he's had a lot of success in Florida, Bermuda splits. I liked him at Wyndham. He played really well. Actually, I thought if he putted, he really could have gotten the mix. He gained 0.3 strokes putting with 5.3 on the approach. And I'll take it even further. The guy who really could have gotten the mix, and he was nowhere, 21st at the Wyndham for Corey Connors. Corey Connors was absolutely deadly last week. 8.4 strokes tee to green, -3 with the putter. Now, he is a bad putter, so it's not like, oh, this is Denny McCarthy, how unlucky. That's what you get from Corey Connors, but I still think with that ball striking, we have to consider him here.
Yeah, it's the same way that I feel about Keegan Bradley. What if I told you Keegan Bradley was positive with the putter in 4 of his last 5, and then just shows up and does his normal ball striking things? Like, right off the Genesis in the Open. Once again, you just write off his England trip, and his recent form looks better than anybody else. Fifth at the Players, Bermuda. Valero, 8th, Bermuda. 2nd, Wells Fargo, Bermuda. 7th, U.S. Open, not Bermuda. I feel pretty good about rostering Keegan Bradley, too, this week. It's just a 7K range that's going to get peppered by me.
Agree. He's fine if you want to lean on some of the... And the thing about Keegan that's a little tricky is his game is starting to, like, I don't want to say evolve, but some of the things that we've known for a long time are starting to change. He's not just dominant tee to green and broken with the putter. It's starting to evolve into a more well-rounded, skill set. And I like that, obviously. But even as we work down, you want to talk about guys that have had, a good season. Chris Kirk has quietly had a fantastic season, and he's perpetually in the mid to lower 7s. You've got JT Poston there. Justin Rose is there. Noren. Cam Davis, the scorer himself. I don't know if he can avoid the doubles here because he doesn't avoid the doubles at courses where there is no danger. I love the 7s, though. This is going to be, I anticipate having builds where it's 2 big dogs and 4 of these guys, and we call it a day.
Yeah, and I mean, we get Beasy, 7th in strokes gained putting on Bermuda surfaces as well. I mean, he putts well on every single surface. You get Adam Hadwin. It's not too long of a golf course, 7,300, top 20 in terms of putting. We know he can turn it on with the approach from time to time, too. He's also not going to have to hit driver absolutely everywhere. I mean, if he can just be confident and get the ball in play, I don't care if he's going to be negative off the tee. He's never going to be positive off the tee, but he's so good with the irons and the putter that I think that there's an opportunity to get there. My boy GT Poston, I mean, this is just another phenomenal spot to just be peppering the range. And I'm curious, the one guy I wanted to ask you about, because I'm not sure what to do with him, but signs are kind of pointing me in his direction again. Alex Noren, are we doing that?
So Noren's a guy that it's been a little tricky. I really had a good run with him early in the year, and it's regressed, but I'm going to stick with this. And I think it's always important to kind of be firm with some of your convictions in PGA because it's such a high variance sport. I really believe that some of these guys are getting a raw deal because of their recent form. And Alex Noren's recent form is the PGA Championship, the Memorial, the US Open, and the Scottish. That's brutal. Like, that's a stretch that I can forgive no matter how you play. Before that, things that are more comparable to what we're talking about here: 5th at Honda, 26th at Players, 12th at Valsport, 42nd at Heritage, and 12th at Byron Nelson. I'm good with that. I'm fine with Noren. I prefer that it plays more difficult for him, but I think that he is in play. Obviously, Aaron Wise, who I briefly mentioned, I just want to throw it out there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic.
He's quack by default.
Yeah, love Wise. Yeah, Denny McCarthy is the best putter. I don't know if I really want to go there this week. He's just not doing a lot. And now can
I give you my theory on this
Please.
Denny McCarthy thing? I'm starting to see a little bit of what, and this is so intrinsic. Like this isn't by any way something I can throw out there, but there are certain golf courses where you're going to see Denny McCarthy feel like he's safe because there's no water. Like the Memorial was kind of an outlier. He lost 3.6 like off the tee, but he gained 2.1 with the approach. But I'm talking approach and off the tee, like Wyndham, Rocket Mortgage, miscut. Like if he's not spiking it and with the putter, he's seriously going to bury a lot of your teams any given week. Like those are the two worst putting weeks he's had all year long. And then you get to something like the Travelers. There was enough water lurking there. He lost 4.1 with the approach. A number of spots where you're hitting into, especially on that back nine, spots where you could just see him make one or two bad swings, and he gets penalized way more than the average guy because he can't gain anymore with the putter. Like it's hard for him to go beyond the realm of getting more than 5 strokes gained putting, because then he would be making like 30 footers, 40 footers routinely. And that's just never going to happen. So like the ceiling is completely capped on him in a way where if he isn't playing a golf course like the US Open this year, there was no water at that golf course whatsoever. The Memorial, other than like 3 spots where on the back nine, you have like approaches that par 3, you have the creek running through on whatever hole that is. There's not a ton of water that is waiting for him here. At the St. Jude, at this golf course, I think there is serious issues if Denny McCarthy is not gaining 3 or 4 with the approach because he's just dead off the tee.
Yeah, I mean, Denny McCarthy, he always putted incredible. The problem was it didn't matter because his tee to green game was just not competitive. Then he started to get that to be average, and we saw the results. Now it's regressed. So I don't really see it. To me, this is where the drop-off occurs. After Noren and Cam Davis, it starts to thin out. I mean, you've got Brendan Steele at flat 7. Griot is there at flat 7 if you want to go with a guy in terms of his just pure ball striking. The thing I'd caution about Griot, you look at these results, second at the John Deere, miscut at the Open, no one cares about that. Second at the 3M. He gained 4 strokes putting in both of those events. That is a miracle, and I don't know how you bank on that.
I just had to go in and bet Minnesota Twins futures as much as I could. Tim Anderson out 4 to 6 weeks with a hand ligament issue. Boom, click, done.
I bet against the Twins today, actually.
Oh, you're a jerk. You're a jerk of a human being. But Scott Stallings, again, well, I'm just saying, Scott Stallings, we're just going to keep playing him, right?
I don't think I was ever playing him, but
why weren't you? I said play him last week.
I got a lot of problems.
Tie 13. You do have problems, and Scott Stallings is 1. So
it's there one. You go. It's not the top
T8,
problem.
T4, T10, T13. These are all things I like. I like winning golf tournaments. I like, putting myself in contention in GPPs. So there you go. Scott Stallings, an absolute buy at 7,100. I hope that we can kind of get away from some of the ownership that he's had the last 2 weeks. Last week out of the middle of nowhere, 7%. Give me all the Scott Stallings and all the land. I like him a lot more than Munoz. A lot more than Denny McCarthy, identical ownership. That's hilarious to me that people would want to play them the same based on what we've seen. But I feel like I always play Scott Stallings. He's just a guy who can spike upside any given week. And now we've seen it 4 weeks in a row. So recent form looks really, really good playing these type of golf courses. Bermuda all looks well with me with Scott Stallings.
It's all irons. It checks out. He's just playing good, sub 10%. It's a pretty thin range. I don't really have a lot to combat it. I don't know how often I'll land there, to be honest, but everything looks pretty solid, and the tools behind the paywall, I think, are going to mirror that. And I will say, of course, you guys know this. You've been with us for quite a while, but we've got a lot of new viewers. If you are looking to take your PGA game to the next level, or you say, you know what, I play a lot of sports, get access. Come on into the Stokastic Plus, all the tools, all the content that we have for all these sports. We're talking about the ownership, the projections, lineup builder, Discord, all those type of things. And of course, if you're going to do it, why not save money? Get 50% off your first week of Stokastic Plus Pass with the promo code PGA Strategy Show. Put it in Sharpie. I know that is right because I'm reading it and it's on the screen. That makes it a lot easier. Even I can do that. Come try it out. NFL, college football, these things are coming quickly. It is a great time to join. We are really confident that you're going to stick around. That's why we're offering the discount. We want you guys to get a taste of it, not have to put in that full amount. And then we hope that you stick around and join that community as so many have. So a great thing there. Let's talk about the sixes because there's names. I mean, Leishman's down here, Wyndham Clark, Aaron Rye, Brandon Wu, other various people. How do you go about it? How often do you think you're going into the sixes?
I don't know. I feel like my Brandon Wu call last week went pretty well for the people at 1%. Yeah,
not bad 15% at all.
Brandon Wu. I'm just saying. I thought there was like no way he wasn't going to work out optimal. I think he still did. I'm not sure actually if he ended up in the quote unquote optimal lineup, but he was.
If you bet that's a good ticket to cash. Not that I did, but
I did. I just played 15% of him in GPPs or something. I think it was like 15% at 1%. But yeah. Then there's Aaron Rye next to him, and I'd rather play Aaron Rye this week. So what do I know?
Okay. I'm catching up on chat. The fake news that's going on. I'm mean to you. Get out of here.
You're so mean to me. Everybody's mean to me.
I also read your everyone in all caps as the Gary Oldman from Lyon, which I just watched the other day. So there you go.
Gary Oldman, such a talent. I feel like nobody knows. Like, would you see a lot of people wouldn't recognize Gary Oldman if it weren't for Batman? Like, that's the only thing people know Gary Oldman from.
Commissioner Gordon. I know him as the crazy guy from The Professional. Like I said,
I respect the hell out of you for being able to do that. See, you're not so mean after all. Josh confirmed mean. But
very mean. He's a very mean person.
Very mean in general. Can we talk Brendan Todd? Because this is the guy that I don't want to have in my portfolio that's showing up a lot in my portfolio. And it has everything to do with the putter, I think, like Bermuda putting. I just talk me out of playing Brandon Todd because right now I do think Brandon Wu after last week, it's not showing up right now, but I can guarantee you it's coming because it always happens when somebody plays well like last week. I bet he gets to like 4 or 5%. You can kind of pick and choose your spots down here. There's really nobody that's quote unquote stands out to me outside of Callum Tarrant, who I'm definitely going to be over the field on at 1%. But KH Lee, you could make a case for. Brandon Wu, you could make the case for. I'm landing on more Aaron Rye because I think long-term, he's just a buy. Somebody that I think from a ball striking perspective can really start to get something out of rounds. My boy Jesse and I just going back and forth about our Aaron Rye lamenting life, whatever. Anirban Lahiri, not going to be probably going that direction, but I think there's a lot of cases for guys, but they're all pretty thin. You can kind of just dealer's choice whomever.
I'd agree. I think this is where skill set stacks become important. And how hard you think the course is. So like Brendan Todd, I think was pretty clear that if you're putting a stress, I mean, off the tee, forget it. Even with the approach, I think that's pretty weak. He's going to have to do it all with the putter. If you think that maybe it turns into some type of target practice, well, someone like KH Lee at times has really shown the ability to do that, and he's really improved his putter. The irons can come and go with a guy like that. It's just fitting. And then a guy like Brandon Wu, I think would help if it is easy. As we work down, it's just, I think you said dealer's choice. You're not going to have to worry about ownership. You're choosing best available. I would reference kind of, are you looking for upside or are you looking for a guy just to make the cut? Now you need him to climb no matter what, but some of these guys I think are a little more boom bust than others.
Yeah, that's probably the right way of saying it. Like my boy Bo Hostler, like good luck to me. I'm not going to play Bo Hostler this week.
I like everybody. Patrick Rogers, as usual.
Patrick Rogers is an all right call. Yeah. I mean, just a ball.
I like that list. That's a good list.
Jaeger, I mean, that he played well last week, so that's cool. Neesmith, that's all right. I would rather play Luke List, I think, at 6,500. I know he's really been bad his last 3 events. Well, 2 of them were overseas, but we're just talking about a guy who, amongst everybody sub 7K and probably under 8K with the exception of Keegan Bradley, the best ball striker, period, out of everybody. It's just, he's so incompetent with a flat stick. He'd be better off, like, switch left-handed. Like, do something, because off the tee, everything you're looking at for him is bright green across the board. Strokes gain top 10, strokes gain approach top 10. We're talking top 10 in this entire field and he's 6,500. I'm definitely going to be buying into some shares, and like he won't be like in a 3-max team. There's no way I could stomach something like that. But in 150, I feel like he's always a guy that I'm just going to have 5-10% of any golf tournament where he's going to be 1%.
Yeah, I mean, again, you're going to be able to take some flyers. Certainly, yeah, Svensson just got brought up. I see that. And if we didn't get, live before lock tomorrow, 8 Eastern, we're going to dive in deep, me and Jeff Ulrich, about these guys, the tee times, some of what we can do if we really go aggressive up top. But my last thing before we bounce on out of here, you got Beau Hossler at 61. What about Schwab? He is also 61. He's gained on the approach in 5 straight events. In his last 3 events, strokes gained putting, -4, -1.5, -6.8 at Wyndham when he gained 4.2 strokes tee to green. I don't know if he can ever turn it around with the putter, but it can't get much worse. 61, I'm considering it.
See, for me, the whole thing with Beau Hossler is he can putt the lights out of it from time to time, and generally he's good off the tee. That's kind of the ingredients. Screw it. I'm gonna have some. Beau Hossler's my boy. Like this is the eternal buy. Never mind. I'm gonna play a little bit of him. Max McGreevy might be the like very bottom end of the board guy coming off of last week. From the clouds, puts up a T5. I don't think that that's any way indicative of what we're going to see from him, but he basically buoyed like 3 starts into status for next year. He got a 2nd at Puerto Rico, a 13th at the Barbasol, and that 5th at the Wyndham. I mean, I have no idea how he's even here. Like, this is just wild that he even got there. Again, there's no way that you're going to be playing like even 5% of this dude, but like if he showed up in a share or 2, and he just rode the momentum, can keep putting well in Bermuda, screw it. Max McGreevy, 6K flat.
Yeah, give me Schwab over that guy. But again, we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out, of course. And we have one more day until we have to lock in these lineups. But again, guys, it's always a good time. Just getting you set for what should be a really interesting FedEx Cup St. Jude Championship. If you're watching, again, thanks for the support. You want to hit that like button on the way out. It does us a great deal of usefulness, and we really do appreciate it. But for me, for Eric, for Tyler behind the glass, and for everyone here at Stokastic, we're going to bounce on out of here. Plenty of content coming up this afternoon. You know what we've got on this very channel. So for all of us, good luck. Enjoy the day. Talk to you guys soon.